Okay, returning back to Access Chapter 1. We just finished Part 1. This is Part 2. Sorry that cut off just as we were saving it, so I said you could come up here to save. And we are actually going to be naming this file Book Rep. Book Rep. Hit OK. Alright, so now we have our table. So there's a couple different things we can do. We are now looking at, there's a couple different views for our table. We created the table in Datasheet view. There's also a design view. The design view is helpful because you can easily view the fields, the data types, properties to ensure that you have entered them correctly. It's also easier to determine the primary key. And using the design view is the way I prefer to do it. However, we followed the way the book had. So what I'm going to do, I am in my table. I'm going to come over here to view. You're going to use this a lot. You just click the down arrow at the bottom part of view, and that's going to take you between the Datasheet view and the design view. Datasheet looks kind of like your Excel sheet. Whenever I go to design view, it's more of like a setup type sheet. So we're going to design view on it. Here you can see all of the fields that we just created. So if you did one, you had a misspelling, you don't have the correct data type, you can put that in here. Down here at the bottom is where you're going to see your field number, any caption you added, and there's a lot of other things that you can do to set this up. We're not going to worry about most of those. So in our design view, we want to make sure that our book rep is our primary key. Okay, here it has the picture of the key next to book rep number. That means that that is the primary key. Okay, we're going to come down here to bonus rate. Remember, there was a couple things I said we're not going to worry about right now. And we're going to change the field size of our bonus rate. So this time, because it's a number, we're not putting in how many characters it can have. We're actually going to be coming down here to field size. It has long integer. And if you click on it and come over here and hit the arrow, you get byte, integer, long integer, single, double, decimal, a lot of different things. And so what those mean is there is a table on page 10 in your textbook if you want to look at it. But a byte is 0 to 255 is what the value would be. For an integer, you would have negative 32,768 to 32,767. A long integer is an even bigger range between negatives and positives. Single, meaning that the numeric value with decimal places to 7 significant digits. And a double is a numeric value with decimal places to more accuracy than a signal. Single, sorry. And then there's some other ones there, decimals. So the one that we are going to choose is going to be the single field size. So single. Now that doesn't mean that it has to be just one character. It can be more than one character. So we're choosing field size there. Okay, the next thing we want to click on is with format. So with format, again, if you click in that box and come over, you get a drop down arrow. And this is going to give you some other general information. We're going to click the fixed here. So fixed meaning it's going to give it a fixed decimal place, a fixed look. This is also where you could put in whether it was currency or a percent or a scientific thing, but we just want fixed there. Then we're going to go to decimal places and where it has auto. And we're going to come over, click the arrow, and this time we are going to make it 2. So 2 decimal places for that one. Okay, to save that, we're just going to come up here and hit the Saves button again. Make sure you are saving very, very, very often in Access, especially if you have to redo something and have to open up a previous file. Okay, so we're done with this table. So we're going to close the table. Remember I said before we want to make sure we're closing with this X, not with this X. So we're going to close the table. It's going to take us back here. You can see now over here we have our book rep table showing. We are ready to add our records to the table. So I am on page 20 in the textbook. To add records to the table, I'm going to right-click on my book rep table, and I need to open it, and it's going to open it into the design view. I could have also, let me just show you, I can double-click on it, and it's going to open it back into the data sheet view. And this is where we're going to start typing in our information. So there are two people who are listed on page 20 in your textbook, so we're going to start with those. The first one is book rep number 53. Make sure as you're typing these, you do not have any typos. This will be very important whenever we go to work with our data later. Also, make sure you don't skip any fields or put something in the wrong field. Okay, I finished it. I'm just going to double check it to make sure I have it correct. Okay, you noticed at the end I hit tab, which automatically took me to the next one. That is not a very good habit to do in case you do not want another one. So make sure after your last records you do not hit tab to go to the next record. So here I'm not going to hit tab to go to the next one, but I am going to go back through and double check. Oh, I hear I had a typo. That should not be 2013, that should have been 2012. Okay. So we have our first two people entered. We have two more book reps, and you're going to find those listed on page, just a second, let me find the correct page. So you're going to find those listed on page 26, so we're just going to skip over to 26. The pages we're going to skip in the middle is how to close the table and exit access and reopen it. So, one thing to know, if you are closing and reopening, you may get a yellow bar that says security warning. Some active content has been disabled. Click for more details. We're just going to choose enable content for this because I guarantee if I'm having you make it, it is okay. The reason why that is there is because it is easy to write a virus into a database. So they say, do you really want to enable this to make it active? Yes. Anything I'm having you do is okay. So I've got two more book reps listed on page 26 for book rep 65 and 48. Oops. So I don't know if you heard that ding, but it makes a dinging sound whenever I accidentally get in the wrong box. And the reason why it dings in the wrong box is because I was trying to type a longer number in the state. And remember, we set up the state to just hold 2 digits or 2 characters. So it would not let me do that. Okay, I'm not sure the network access. Oh, because I'm saving this on my network. Okay, looks like it went. Again, I'm at the last one, so I want to make sure that I do not press Tab to get down here on the next line. Okay, the next thing we need to do is, just like in Excel, we notice that some of our columns are not the correct width. So we're going to change the column widths. To do that, just like in Excel, we're going to take our mouse and make our cursor have the two heads on it. Oops. I don't know why it keeps doing that. And we're going to drag it. You can drag it or you can double click it just like in Excel. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to double click between each one of these, and it will make it the correct width that it needs to be. See here, state, it's going to make a lot smaller. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save because I do not want to lose anything. Okay, next we are done entering data into this table. So we want to preview and preview the contents. So this is not an easy thing to look at. So if your boss was wanting to see it, we're going to make it a nice, neat format. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and just close the table. Make sure you saved it. We're going to click once on Book Rep so that it is selected. It has to be selected or it doesn't know what to print. Go to File. Okay, apparently mine's doing weird things. So File, and then I want Print. And we're going to choose Print Preview. Okay. It's always important, even if you were truly going to print, to preview this, because just like in Excel, you don't want some weird column hanging off in the wrong spot. So I want to see, I've got my book rep, last name, first name, address, city, state, postal code, and then I have to go down here and go to the next page to see the rest of my data. We don't want it hanging off on the side like that, so we're going to switch it to landscape. See if that helps. Well, it helped a little bit, but we've still got the bonus rate hanging off on its side. So what we can do is come to margins would be the next thing, and we're going to make the margins narrow. Good, now we got it all fitting on one page. Okay, so page setup, you can actually set up your own margins, but we want to make sure we're at landscape. We change the margins to narrow, and that way everything is on one page for us. Okay, so we are not going to print this at this time, but it's going to go ahead and save our print format for us. Okay, and the last thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you hit save so that it saves that print preview for you. Another way we can do this is also, you could print this actually to a PDF right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for you now, just so that you have it to type from in class. So this will be the end of this section. This is a good stopping point. Before you go on to the next section, there will be some files on Google Classroom that you will need to download. And then I'll see you in part 3.